Alright. This was probably the biggest agenda chapter we've had since that one chapter where Gaban used advanced conquers haki. With agenda comes an insane amount of people cooking up in the comments. So today, of course, we're gonna go over you guys' thoughts and reactions to chapter 1155 of the One Piece manga. Every week a chapter comes out, I make a chapter review on Friday, and most of the time I make a follow-up like this one on Sunday. Today is not Sunday, but on Tax Soul it won't happen again. Anyways, subscribe if you're new. You got a cool vibe going on here. I think you'll like it. Mihawk wasn't born when Zebek clashed with Harold, right? I'm really happy that Oda is bringing up the stuff about the Davy Back fight and Davy Jones. They were just in the air for so long. Alright, so I'm pretty sure Mihawk was like 5 years old or something back then. Do not quote me on it, I just heard some random person say something like that, but regardless, I think most people missed the point when it came to the whole Mihawk thing. From my perspective, I don't think Mihawk's title is needed for the upscale Mihawk gets from Rocks. It's everything else we learned because of Rocks' existence. Let me explain. With Rocks being introduced and his swordsmanship being described, it introduces a couple things. First off, the already existing notion that swordsmanship doesn't always cut. The reason this in specific was so important was because the main thing Shanks fans would use as a counter to say that Shanks isn't a swordsman was Kamusari. I talked about this in my chapter review, but I honestly have to give Shanks fans their flowers because I think this chapter actually proved them correct. Kamusari isn't actually a cutting attack, and I genuinely didn't believe that before, but they were right on the money. However, with that, the implications still point to the fact that regardless of it not cutting, it's a form of swordsmanship because we're seeing an even more extreme version of Kamusari being used casually and named swordsmanship. Roger was very clearly a swordsman. I've never really seen the code surrounding him if there really is any, and he's where Kamusari originated from. With that being said, getting Shanks to be the swordsman he very clearly is upscales Mihawk, and this all comes from Rocks, but the most important and my personal reason why this is such a huge upscale for him is the lack of black blades. We aren't completely informed on the specifics and requirements for a black blade. We've heard many different things from engaging in countless battles to haki, but I think we can all agree that forging a black blade is the pinnacle of swordsmanship. If two swordsmen are at the table and one has a black blade and is directly forged by them, I think it's pretty clear that the one with it is the better swordsman. This is where the biggest cope comes in, and is the ambiguity surrounding sword skill. I think this is one of the worst things that's happened to the One Piece community. When Mihawk's bounty was revealed, what was noted was that Mihawk had better sword skill than Shanks, and everyone ran with it. My question is, what exactly is sword skill to these people? Apparently Mihawk just has better skill with swordsmanship, but Shanks is stronger. But what constitutes skill? Waving your sword better? That makes no sense. If there's a duel between two swordsmen, do you think there's no strength involved and they compare twirling their swords more elegantly? It's a ridiculous notion. This should have ended when we got this specific statement about Zoro, and it's genuinely one of my favorites. In one of the most recent Viva card packs, Zoro's King of Hell 3 sword style was described, and the end is very telling. I'm going to read the entire thing out. During the fierce battle on Onigashima, Zoro unleashed a supreme technique. His swords, imbued with overwhelming haki, wielded unparalleled, intimidating force and destructive power. It brought down and defeated King, a member of the Lunarian tribe known for their formidable durability. This represents the pinnacle of Zoro's swordsmanship to date. So, the pinnacle of Zoro's swordsmanship is Zoro imbuing an overwhelming amount of haki to his swords and doing what? Twirling it elegantly? No, he flew towards King and almost killed him. This should have automatically killed all the, in quotations, skill arguments. Sword skill is literally just strength. Not once post time skip is Zoro over here obsessing about how elegantly he swings his sword. After the time skip, the first thing we find out that he can do is imbue his swords with haki and cut more things. I'm rambling a lot right now, to be honest, but going back to what I was saying, having a black blade is the pinnacle of swordsmanship. Swordsmanship's peak is synonymous to the strength the swordsman has. Rocks doesn't have a black blade, along with Shanks, Roger, Rayleigh, and the like. And guess who does? Mihawk Upscale. As for the second part mentioning the Davy back fight, honestly I'm happy that's being used as well. I remember back in quarantine being forced to watch that arc and almost dropping One Piece because of how obnoxious and annoying the antagonist was. Obviously this is going to be in play though. The people who skipped it are probably super lost right now, and all I can say is you should never skip a One Piece arc. Oh yeah, and I hope you guys don't start trying to overrate the Foxy arc like Skypiea just because of how important it turned out to be. Skypiea is actually in my top 5, but that was before the Nika stuff. We got people talking about it's the best arc in One Piece off of nothing but pure glaze. I feel like the Foxy arc has less aura, so this won't happen, but I don't know, the One Piece fandom is kind of funny. Haki has a direct correlation to willpower, and Mihawk has 0. No conqueror will allow himself to be under Buggy because it's the smart thing to do. Mihawk has been chilling for 2 decades doing nothing but chase little marines. Shanks has literally been maintaining balance in the world until Joy Boy returned. All that greatest swordsman talk gets invalidated the moment Haki comes into question. If Kaido tells Luffy, who's literally in Gear 5, that Haki is the key, I don't want to hear you say Haki is irrelevant, that's just bad faith. Shanks definitely has better observation Haki than Mihawk, definitely better conquers Haki. That negates any sword skill advantage Mihawk has, and obviously there's no bad faith in me saying that because it's objectively true when all context is considered. And just because Mihawk can grab the sword with 2 hands, that's not going to do anything to a Nika who can see ahead of time and has the greatest Haki alive. So this comment came from one of like the oddest subscribers I have. I don't even know if he's a subscriber at all. Like, I checked his past comments on my videos and it's either he hate watches me or he genuinely just disagrees with everything I say. The guy spammed this comment specifically so that I would use it in my video, so here it is. Let's talk about it. This first point about Mihawk not having conquerors because of his, in quotations, lack of willpower is incredibly wrong. It's actually stated in his Viva card that before receiving his unanimous title of World's Strongest Swordsman, he challenged powerful foes and of course defeated all of them until there was none left. That's why he became a warlord to lead a quiet life until a swordsman stronger than Shanks would appear. What the heck is Mihawk meant to be doing when he's completed his mission and become the most formidable swordsman of his era? And what's even more funny about this is the fact that we literally just got confirmation a couple chapters ago that Shanks wanted to go F around with Buggy all day, but he's one of the most powerful conquerors we have ever seen in One Piece. That point is just ridiculous. Thinking Mihawk won't have conquerors Haki even though his inferior Zoro has it is just funny. Shanks has shown better observation and has better statements for conquerors Haki, sure, but that's all it is, a lack of information on Mihawk's side. No, I do not think Mihawk is gonna have greater conquerors Haki than Shanks or something, but I think it can be comparable. Regardless of all the BS being brought up by Shanks fans, it's a fact that Mihawk is a rival to him, and it's a fact that Mihawk is waiting for a stronger opponent than him. So even if we don't have the information on Mihawk's side, the ones with a brain know what's up. Honestly, just a funny comment all things considered. I'ma just say 2 words: Mihawk Upscale. I love how parody Rocks is, that's why Blackbeard is so goated and now also Rocks. In a similar comment, I'm really liking Rocks and his whole ambition. This chapter is straight fire. This is the main thing I noticed with Rocks. While we got people like Roger and Whitebeard kind of fitting the role, like trying to steal each other's treasure and yada yada yada, Blackbeard and Rocks are the realest pirates we've seen in One Piece, and it's not even close. No one betrays people more like Blackbeard, no one moves in the shadows more like them, no one has more ambition than Rocks and Blackbeard. These two are so calculated and scummy to the point where, outside of petty hate because of their characters, you have to give them their credit. I honestly used to not understand the love Blackbeard was getting a couple years ago, but at this point I can really understand. Rocks especially, this chapter introduced an insane amount of ambition from him, but on top of that, his insane amount of planning and most importantly, execution. This guy planned years, decades ahead with things he couldn't execute immediately and took time, but he waited long enough to get them off, and that's why he was so successful. There's only 2 pirates we've seen say that they want the world, and that's Blackbeard and his dad. Absolute gas pirates. I can't wait to see how the Blackbeard pirates get to stepping soon. Oda in his bag this chapter is insane. The most impressive thing to me was Harold. That dude is Yonko level. This was honestly the biggest surprise to me this chapter. When I read those spoilers and they said Harold of all people had a Conqueror's clash with rocks, I was shook. I also already knew the panel would look ridiculous because of how insanely huge Harold is. Harold is big enough to hold Loki like a little baby, and that same Loki, while not even standing, was bigger than other giants. And then obviously those giants were bigger than rocks, so that's why he's so miniature compared to him. Size comparisons aside, this clash opened my eyes. Harold is that guy for sure, and it does make sense. He's literally been sailing for decades, of course he'd be super strong. It honestly makes you wonder how long Rocks had been in the shadows before he got his first bounty, because no rookie can use Haki, and especially not Advanced Conqueror's Haki, the highest form of it. Harold, I wasn't familiar with your game, but what thrills me more is the potential of Loki. Just how strong is this guy going to be when push comes to shove? I cannot wait to find out. Admirals or fodder, and in the same breath, also trying to downplay the Admiral by saying he was weak is the wildest thing ever. There is no implication at all he was weak or weaker than the others. Rocks is just him. Alright, so in this chapter we found out what actually happened between Rocks and the Admiral. People misinterpret the sequence of events. What actually happened is that he got to the Room of Flowers, exited and attacked an Admiral, nearly killed him, and ran away and saw Harold. We see that Rocks is roughed up, but he's not even close to really injured, while the Admiral died to his injuries. The implication is that Rocks attacked the Admiral. I mean, it's literally stated, but honestly, it doesn't matter. I think Rocks would have still won even if it was an actual fight. I did say, however, that the Admiral was clearly weaker, and it's like that point went over everyone's head because I literally gave proof of that. It is stated the Marines are as strong as ever. The OG 3 Admirals are all relative and compared to Prime Garp, and the only thing the opposition has is there is no implication. Heck, wasn't there a statement about Kid Big Mom, who was like 5 years old, being able to be Fleet Admiral at the time? That was like 60 years ago. We have no information on this random Admiral that got attacked. We have verbatim proof that current gen Marines are stronger than ever. We have other Admirals relative to the strongest Marine of all time, but yes, this random Admiral from 60 years ago that for the last time we have no information about is relative to our current ones because there's apparently no implication otherwise. I'm moving on, bro. Alright, I can no longer keep silent on this. We've seen Emu move, the 5 Elders move, the Holy Knights move, the Seraphims revealed, Joyboy's Ancient Haki from the Grave move, Rocks move, Roger move, Ryuma's Soul and Thriller Bark move, all the Warlords, Yonkos, and Admirals, and even Garp and Sengoku. We've literally seen every single character in the verse take action at this point, all except for Dragon. This is frying me right now because it's genuinely true. I made a video 2 years ago now that that Dragon would finally make his move, and all he's done is literally talk. Dragon is genuinely Oda's biggest mystery when it comes to power scaling, and I think anyone going against his stocks are in for a rude awakening. Dragon will be one of, if not the strongest of our current generation, and we literally won't be able to comprehend it. Both Dragon and Mihawk have yet to use a named attack, and that's why I have so much stocks in them. They will break One Piece once they're fully unleashed. Dragon more than Mihawk at the very least though. I'm honestly so ready for Dragon to move because when he does, a lot of things get shut down. The only thing I have a problem with though is Sabo. Hopefully he dies just like Ace, because if he doesn't, he's gonna show out and I'm gonna be pissed because his fans are gonna drag it like always. Only time will tell though. There's theories that the Holy Land is on fire right now because of the revolutionaries. I'm ready to find out soon. Drops on Lineage in the chapter are crazy. Rocks and Buggy have a very similar bounty photo which was brought up in the video. That one ugly guy on Rocks' crew, Ochoku, we've actually seen someone who looks really similar to him, is Karabu, the swamp guy who tried to kidnap the mermaids. Also, I don't know if it's just me, but why does Gonzui, one of Rocks' crewmates, look like Patty, that one dude from Baratier? I highly doubt it, but if Zeph was on Rocks' crew, Sanji fans are about to freak out. So when the spoilers came out, Lineage was a big thing being pointed out. I heard about the Karabu thing, and honestly, it just disgusted me, and that's why I didn't bring it up during my chapter review. When I was first watching Fishman Island, seeing that ugly piece of crap genuinely used to piss me off. Oda was in his bag when he wanted to make an absolutely horrible design. Thinking about it though, Karibu's dad having potential ties to rocks and Karibu trying to get to Blackbeard is definitely telling. And that's why people are mentioning the possibility of Loki joining Blackbeard instead of Luffy, because of Blackbeard's lineage and ambition. Also, the Patty thing would fry me if it was real, but I highly doubt it. The only thing I noticed from this guy when I was reading the chapter was how insanely loud and gross he was. Talking while eating, mouth wide open. I'm tired, Oda. These characters are just so ugly. Anyways, this chapter was great. I still have 1154 over it, but that doesn't downplay this chapter's significance. Next chapter, we might actually get the God's Valley incident flashback that we've been waiting for years. I cannot put into words how insane this backstory is turning out to be. Expect quick reviews when those chapters come out. But until then, make sure to like and subscribe. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.